doing about 80 miles an hour on a road that should be maybe 15 miles an hour maximum. And what happened throughout this ride is we lost total control of our lives. I mean, complete control. We were at the mercy of this person driving. And you know what it's like when you get in a cab. I've never met him before. I don't know his background. I don't know what drugs may be going through his system. I've got my daughter back here whose life I'm now in fear of. I'm in fear of my own life at the same time. And we're going so fast, we're jammed in the back by these seatbelts. This was not a normal, crazy cab ride. This was something else. And it was a terrifying experience to be totally out of control. And this pilot, this person driving up front, owned our lives. Our entire lives were in his hands, and they weren't in very good hands. And when I tell you that this is the most crazy ride of my life, we ended up pulling onto the on-ramp of the freeway, going the wrong way at one point, heading onto the wrong way of an on-ramp, certainly towards our deaths. This just happened. And he catches himself, throws it in reverse, does about 30 miles an hour in reverse, where we're weaving back and forth the wrong way now, and then back. And we end up flying. You can probably picture what this experience was like for us. And now I'm yelling at the guy. You know, you can imagine the words coming out of my mouth, but he's not stopping because he's so worked up, probably whatever was in his system at the time. And we finally pull up to the valet at the hotel. We were blessed to be staying at a pretty nice hotel. And I could see the valets could see us coming because you could hear the engine roaring from a couple blocks away. You can picture this. And it's dark out. It's raining a little bit now. You can hear our car coming. And we finally corner around the hotel, and he screeches into the valet. And of course, we spent those 25 minutes totally out of control in our lives. Someone else driving everything. And as a control freak in my own life, it was a terrifying experience. And so I won't get into what happened after that, but I had my daughter get out of the car. I said, Bella, get out of the car. And me and this man exchanged a few words. It wasn't really very intense because I was still in such shock. Frankly, in hindsight, I wish I was more aggressive with him. And I paid the fare, and I shut the door. And here's what happens next. He takes off out of the valet, full speed. And now I'm telling the valet, I'm in the middle of telling the valet, my daughter and I, what this experience just was. And we watch the car. He is still within sight distance of the valet. And he hits a car head on. Then he hits a parked car. This was within eye shot of where we were, about 35 to 40 seconds after he dropped us off. He was in a very serious car accident. Now, fortunately, by the way, we're just out of the car. So my daughter and I were seconds away from being in that accident. Now, fortunately, the people that he hit ended up being okay, and I believe he was okay. And I tell you all of that story because I believe it was a tremendous metaphor for our lives. Number one, it was a terrifying experience. The terrifying part wasn't necessarily just the fear that we were going to hurt ourselves or be killed or hurt someone else, but it was this notion of being completely out of control and something and someone else was driving everything. And I think a lot of people's lives are that way. If you could picture that car ride, I want you to picture your life. And I want to ask you a question, because that crash is inevitable if something or someone else is driving things behind the scenes in our subconscious mind or in our emotions or even spiritually. We were seconds away from that crash. And my fear is that so many of you, including myself sometimes, have something or someone else driving, and that we're not in control of our choices and our decisions, and that we don't do a self-audit regularly enough to say, what's driving my behavior? What's driving these results I'm getting? Who's really in control here? Am I really in control of my life? Am I in control of my decisions? Am I in control of the choices that I'm making? And more often than not, someone else or something else behind the scenes, subconsciously and sometimes even consciously, is in control of our lives, and we live our lives out of control. Before I get into some of the teaching that I want to share with you, I want to ask you a question. Do you really feel like you're in control of your life? Do you really feel like you're in control of your choices? Or far too often, are you a passenger in the back seat of your own life, out of control, zigging and zagging dangerously through your life, maybe even more dangerously than most people know? maybe more on the edge than most people could ever possibly understand or realize. And I have to tell you, those experiences are terrifying. Not only in that car that night, and what ends up happening at some point is there's a crash. And the carnage can be terrible in our lives. And so let's ask ourselves together today, myself included, who's driving right now for you in your life? Are you in the back seat, a passenger in your own life, and something or someone else is driving most of your life, in control of too many aspects of your life? And so let's look at what some of those things could be that may possibly be driving things. Number one, are your fears the driver of your life? Is that who's in control? Is that who's really driving, who guides things, and you're a passenger in their back seat sort of being thrown around out of control because your fears drive your choices and your behaviors in your life? Could that be what's driving right now? And if fears are driving your life, ultimately there will be a crash. If fears are driving your life, you are in the back seat of your life, not in the front seat driving, not in control of your life.